Howdy, y'all. It's question and answer day. So you've submitted questions and I have answers for you. Let's jump in. First off, when you first started your debt-free journey, what was the hardest thing to sacrifice? I got really excited when I saw this question because I got to kind of think back to when I had $32,000 in debt and I was just kind of starting this process, and it can be really overwhelming if you let it be, because once you kind of come to terms with how much you're actually spending, it can really be a slap in the face. So the biggest places that I was spending was eating out and shopping. And the worst part is that it was just mindlessly shopping. I mean, I shopped clearances and I shopped sales because I thought I was thrifty, but I was just buying I'm just gonna say it, crap. I was buying stuff that I didn't need. I was buying stuff that wouldn't fit well into my home. I was buying things like home decor items that I didn't have a mental place in mind for them to go. I had like so much bedding and none of it even matched. I would buy it like piecemeal and I wouldn't even try to match it together. It was insane. I was not a good shopper. I just shopped for the thrill of it. And now I don't do that. I'm very considerate about everything that I bring into my home. And it's not that I don't enjoy shopping anymore. I just enjoy the hunt of finding the perfect thing that I've already decided that I want to bring into my life and will treasure. So that was a really big mental shift. And also eating out just kind of constantly. I never planned on what I was going to do to eat that day. Every single day it was like, oh, I'm hungry, that's a surprise, because I was a moron. And so I'd go to work and I wouldn't figure out what I would eat for lunch or what I was gonna do for lunch until lunchtime. And then of course I'm not gonna be able to save any money. I have to go out to eat or I have to be hungry. And it was a big mental shift to not run out and eat out every day, to planning my meals and saving money that way and turning eating out into something I could really enjoy and plan for and not have to feel guilty about spending on. So those were my two biggest things. It was really hard to change the shift because you can't just decide not to shop for useless items anymore because your brain isn't wired that way at that point. If you're shopping all the time for useless items, you have to tell it no. And your brain doesn't want to be told no. It's no fun to tell yourself no. Same with eating out. But those were things that were the hardest to sacrifice because they were the hardest to change my habits on. That said, having had years of practice on that now, I am so much happier. Not only because of the money that I saved, but because I get to spend my time doing different things now instead of stressing out about what I'm going to eat for lunch that day, or just spending mindless time in stores just shopping just to accumulate and then having to stress over where am I going to put all those things. Everything in my home here has a point and has a place and has a home, and it takes like no time at all to clean my house now because I've put a lot of consideration into what I've let in, and I really enjoy it. So I bought a plant today. Actually, I went to Lowe's and I bought a little plant to go in a pot that I had hanging on my patio that had died. Unfortunately, I was not meant to be a petunia mom in the Texas summer. It was very sad. They were a gift from Beth and I just didn't water them enough. Most of my plants only get watered once or twice a week. These suckers in the heat here really needed to be watered kind of every day, and they bit the bullet. So I had known for a couple of weeks as kind of that plant was dying and it died, and I decided to, take the dead plant out of the pot, that I'd like to replace it. But I didn't immediately go out and then just buy a bunch of plants. I was very considerate about what I bought, and I considered what environment it was going to be in, and I ended up actually getting kind of a little succulent type drapey plant out of the clearance section at Lowe's that was really healthy. I think they just didn't have enough of them left or something, and it was only $1. And so I transplanted that out there, and that's going to be really good for my environment. I'm really going to enjoy seeing it, and it's also going to work within my life because I only water plants once or twice a week. So I know that's a very specific thing, but I think we should give a lot of consideration to the things that we bring into our home and the things that we spend our money on. And I'm very happy with it. I enjoyed the whole process because I had been thinking about it for a while and I didn't just immediately jump out. Also, while I was there, I saw some other plants that I was like, and I could do this and this and this and this with, but I hadn't made a plan for them. I didn't have pots for them just laying around. I didn't have dirt. And so once I started thinking about, okay, what else would I need to buy to bring these other plants into my home? I was like, no, I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like fun. That's just more stress and more money spent. So it was fun. I'm having a lot of fun with my life now, having changed my habits over the past 3 years. So if you're just starting and it's frustrating for you to sacrifice, know that it won't always be that hard to sacrifice. You might even end up really enjoying being more intentional with what you cultivate, especially if you have a shopping problem like I did. Definitely did. All right, next question. I'm currently in college and trying to pay for everything myself. That being said, I'm wondering how much I should keep in my savings account. Well, if you're in college, you probably don't have that many outside expenses. Dave generally recommends a $500 to $1,000 starter emergency fund for any and all cases. But if you're in college, you're probably living in the dorms. A lot of your costs are probably already set in stone and you're not having to pay for them out of pocket. Now, if you're living in an apartment and you're having to pay monthly bills, I would recommend a $1,000 emergency fund. If you're living in the dorms, maybe have a meal plan, don't have that many monthly expenses, I think $500 would be just fine for you probably. And also huge kudos for having this mindset in college of knowing that you need to save and that you need to have something set aside for a rainy day. It shows that you're being very mindful with your money and that you're going to probably be pretty successful in the future with it if you're already thinking about that now. Congrats. Next up, do you have at least one credit card? When you need to book a flight or take a trip and they ask for a credit card to hold a room, what will you do when that time comes? I have booked flights and reserved rooms with a debit card. I've literally never had a problem with that. I have done it all over the country. Actually, I've flown out to LA and I've, traveled all over the South and had to book motel rooms and flights, and I've never had a problem doing that with a debit card. I don't think credit's necessary. I'm completely with Dave on this. Now, I'm not mad at people that have credit cards. I don't have any credit cards. I do think that they can be used responsibly, but I don't think they're necessary at all. And I don't see any necessity to bring one into my life. It's been proven, all the studies show that you spend more when you use credit cards. Also, it's harder to reconcile your budget when you're just spending onto a credit card, and because then you have one bill at the end of the month that you have to pay off. Whereas I swipe individually and then I reconcile each of those transactions into my budget. I know exactly where my money is going, and it's more like cash that I'm handing over. It's hurting. So, and when it comes to like the points and everything, I know some people use credit card points. I gotta reiterate what Dave says all the time. He's never met a millionaire that said that those airline miles really took him up to the next level. Like I said, I'm not mad at you if you use credit cards. I feel like if you don't have debt and that you have really good control over your money, that you can't use them responsibly. I know people that use them responsibly. I never got into trouble with credit cards. I just don't think they're necessary. It's like a unnecessary risk. It's kind of like playing with animals that bite, like snakes and spiders and stuff. You can, yeah, there are people that have those pets and they're really good, but not necessary. So that said, I'm sure I'll get a lot of hate on this, but you asked if I have a credit card, and I don't. And what do I do if I need to book a flight or pay for a motel room? I use debit cards. Never had an issue with them. I have had car rental companies put like a hold, or hotels put like a hold, $100, $200 hold on my bank account. But if I'm traveling, I always make sure to have a little extra money in my account in case I need to use it. It's never been a problem. Never once in my life. So, yeah. And Dave Ramsey says the exact same thing, and he has an entire corporation. He has a huge team of hundreds and hundreds of people that use debit cards when they travel, and they travel all over the United States. He says he's never had a problem with that either. So don't Just don't fall for the lie that you have to have a credit card, because you don't. You absolutely don't. All right, next up, question. As a hairstylist, a good portion of my money I get is cash. How do I deposit that into a Capital One 360 account? My bank doesn't offer free savings, and I want to start sinking funds accounts. All right, now what I would do in this situation is, I've done this before where I got, in MENA, they didn't do direct deposit, that I had to cash a check somewhere every other week, which is so crazy because it's the 21st century. But I completely understand. I get this question all the time, actually. It sounds like you already have a local bank. And what I've done everywhere but here I haven't gotten a local bank yet because I have direct deposit, and I'm still considering getting it just in case I need cash or something, though they do have free ATMs. But what I always did in MENA and in Hammond is I had a local bank that I did general day-to-day transactions out of, and I also had my Capital One 360 accounts, which was a checking account and savings accounts that I kept all of my savings in. Not only does this keep your savings out of sight, out of mind, and kind of out of reach a little bit if you're tempted, it just kind of categorizes them in a different part of your brain. So what you can do is you can deposit cash into your regular bank account with your local bank, whatever you use, and then transfer it, initiate it from your Capital One 360 checking account and pull that into your online savings accounts. And then, and I've recommended this before, have a checking account with Capital One 360 and have as many savings accounts as you want. They're all completely free, they're interest bearing, and having the checking account linked to the savings accounts means that you can transfer out of your sinking fund or savings accounts into your checking account and swipe a debit card or write a check for that emergency that may happen or that event that you need that money for immediately. So it's not out of reach. You don't have to wait 3 days for some sort of transfer to go through. Now on the other end, transferring from your local bank to your Capital One 360 savings accounts is probably going to take a couple of days. That's just the way bank-to-bank transfers work. But if you're putting it into sinking funds, i.e. savings accounts, you probably aren't going to need to access that money right away, super immediately anyway. So that's the way you do it. That's the way I've done it for years. It's really not a problem. I don't transfer them out that often. I do have auto drafts that are set for my sinking funds, so immediately they go out. And you can set that from an outside bank, or you can set that from your Capital One 360 checking account. So, and as long as you initiate it from Capital One 360, it's completely free. You might have to check with your bank and make sure that they don't have any fees if you were to initiate the transfer from their bank, but I'm positive from 360, you can initiate transfers out or transfers in completely and totally free. I have never paid a single cent of fees through Capital One 360. I love them. Not sponsored. That said, there is a link to them below. I've used them for years and years and years and years, and they're a good company. So I hope that works for you. It's really not complicated at all. All right, that is the last question I have time for today. Thank you all so much for submitting them. I love answering your questions and giving you the benefit of the mistakes that I've made in my experience, and I certainly hope that I am helping you out as well, because we're just all trying to save money and be better with life together. So, all right, like the video, subscribe, leave me a comment below with your money questions, and I will try to get to them in a future video. Also, Rory is in the chair, if you can't see her. So you gotta say hi. That's been the crunching. She's pulled out every single one of her toys in the last hour because she wants to play. So I'm gonna go play with her. I'll see you guys later.